Welcome to the Modern Watchman podcast, where faith meets the front lines of culture.
We break down what's happening in the world, what's behind it, and how believers can stand strong in truth.
We're not here to fear the times, we're here to understand them.
Because being watchmen means staying awake, staying ready, and staying grounded in the Word.
Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Modern Watchman podcast with Tom and Wendy.
It's us, Tom and Wendy. Happy January 6th, honey.
Happy January 6th.
You guessed it. It is our January 6th special episode. Looking back is what it's called.
Looking back.
Looking back on the day that will live in infamy, at least for the Cunninghams.
I
We'll always love you.
will always love you.
Were you waiting for the drum?
No.
What? No, that's not what
I
it
was just, lots of things were coming to my mind.
Tell me about your mind.
I mean, it's just a weird thing because we always knew, because we watched all the evidence, and that's why
You're
we
jumping in.
went.
You're
We're jumping in.
We're
Why
jumping
can't-
in. We are talking
January 6th.
about January 6th. Is this the 5-year anniversary? Yes. 5-year anniversary of January 6th, 2021, going to Washington, D.C., innocently enough, naivety in full swing, to be trapped by the FBI circus.
You're jumping in.
Everybody knows it now. 5 years later, it was an FBI circus. But yes, let us begin at the very beginning.
What are we going to do here? Are we going to tell
A very good place to
our
start.
story?
I don't know what other story we could tell. Let's tell our story.
Okay, I just
Let's-
wasn't
it's
clear
time.
like how
it's time
detailed
for
you
us
were.
to tell our story. We've been quiet. We've been afraid. Just kidding. A little bit afraid. There's been times of fear. Tom's making a face like he was never afraid, but look, I'll be
but I
frank.
had to do things that
I'll be frank. You can be Tom. You're like, that's an oldie but a
I would
goodie.
say that is such a boomer. I hope a boomer's out there listening to appreciate that.
We're boomer millennials. Did you know that?
So that's probably about right. Nothing.
We're
It's
like
very difficult
the
to offend me.
old millennials. We're like original millennials.
We're definitely old millennials.
Yeah, we barely make the cut.
I call it OG millennials.
OGMs. It's like OMG, but it's OGM, and it confuses everybody. Like me. Would you get on track already?
That's
Would
what
you
I was
stay
just thinking.
focused,
I was like,
Tom?
when can we talk about what we're supposed
Let's
to talk
talk about it. Okay. So, you go.
Well, I don't know where you want to start, but
We should start at
we just recently told the story of like how
Us
we watched all the
watching.
evidence,
Yep.
and so we were so
we watched a lot of Senate
convicted.
hearings.
We,
Do you think that you would have watched all that, or did I make you?
I think you played a big role in that.
That's for sure. I was a little obsessed. I was on a freaking tirade, is what I was. That was my, for some people, it was the COVID vaccine and masks and like all that, which I was on. I was here for that. But oh man, that election thing really busted my chops, so to speak. And I mean, like we said on the other podcast, it had nothing to do with being Trumpers because we barely were. And I had
Yeah.
only decided to vote for Trump like 27 minutes before I did it. And I was like, all right, I will vote for him. Not because I enjoyed him as a president the first time, but I was still like, I don't know. And I was convinced. Somebody literally reached out and convinced me, which is an important thing I remember myself when I go, that particular friend of mine 100% persuaded me from being a third party voter to being a Trump voter. Or frankly, I was like, I might just sit out. I might just be like over this whole thing. And then how terrible is it when you're like that disenfranchised already that you're like, I might just sit out and like no longer participate. And then freaking 2020 election happens and you're just like, are you for real? Are you for real? I was so riled up about that. It literally consumed all of December that year because November and December, the elections were November 3rd or 4th or something. And all of that month, and primarily December because the Senate hearings were in December, just absolutely ate up my whole life. And I will say that we felt separately convicted that we were going to go to Washington, D.C. Like, basically, I made the decision that I was going to go to Washington, D.C. for January 6th. And then I was like, I feel like I brought it up to you and you were like, I was thinking I would go. And I was like, perfect, we'll both go. But we didn't really have anywhere to like leave our kids. So that was like kind of a thing. But we figured that out. We were like, okay, we have like 2 days. Basically, we were like, we'll drive up overnight. We'll be there. And then we'll spend 2 nights, but basically barely.
Well, it took us 3 nights, technically.
Did it?
Yeah, because we left at like 8 o'clock at night.
That's right.
We drove until like 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning. We stayed somewhere. We woke up. Then we drove into the city.
That's right. Spent that night.
The next day was January 6th.
That's right. And then we were planning to spend that night in D.C.
But we ended up bailing at like 9 o'clock at night or something.
We'll get there. Yeah. So made the decision, like maybe it might have been before New Year's. But maybe.
Pretty sure it was because
it was within a week, I feel like.
I'm a very like, when I have trips, I have very, very like, I have a list every time. Mm-hmm. I pack a certain, some things that I pack all the time, but then there's different loadouts, so to speak, that I bring for certain things. And I remember like doing that, but I remember having very little time
we decided with about a week.
I don't even know if that's that much time, but yeah.
To go. And I remember, like, I feel like we booked a hotel and we changed our hotel.
I can't remember.
Well,
that was the other thing. I was surprised we could even get a hotel because I wasn't really sure how many people were going to be there. And it was short notice, but the hotel we got was, I forget the name of it now, but I could look it up on a map.
I feel like that wasn't the one we got. I think we ended up booking a hotel and then I called my friend.
Yeah, we changed to our friend's hotel.
And was like, she was a big Trumper. And so I wanted to tell her, like, just so you know, I'm going to go fight for your guy, And as our lives go, me and this friend, which is to say incredibly paralleled, I like sent her a message, was like, hey, I'm going to go fight for your guy in DC. And she was like, no way. We just booked a hotel. We're going to. I was like, heck yes. So we switched our hotel to
that might be right. Yeah.
To go to where they were staying. And she was coming with her husband and bringing her 16 and 17-year-old kids.
Boy and girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then another mutual friend of ours, was toying with going. And when we both committed, she's like, I'm in. And so she came from California and she brought her 70-something-year-old mother. So clearly we were assembling the insurrectionist crew. The crew that was going to do the damage. So we went off on our way that night, the first night. So that would have been like the 4th?
I think so, yeah. That was when we
left the night of the 4th.
That was one of my favorite parts. I've told it on the other episodes, but how like we were driving on Interstate 40 and then like I think it's like 81 or something that goes up into Virginia, and just so many vehicles from all over the country with "Stop the Steal" written in window paint on their, and just literally just the license plates were from everywhere: California, Washington, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Minnesota, Illinois. Like it was just everywhere, and they were just going, and it was just like, I mean, it gives me chills still to this day.
It's one of those like just the faintest, most minimalist. This must have been like so not the same, but like this must have been what the founders felt like when they were like, we're doing this, and other people were like, we are, where you're just like, okay, this is not just Tom and Wendy, because there's also the fear that you're going to sacrifice this time, sacrifice this money, drive all the way to DC and be one of like 27 people that are out there, like just an insignificant thing.
And not just that, but just like and again, I am going to just say things tonight that whether they sound self-righteous or not, I don't know. But it's just like when I'll try to make it sound as best as I can. Like, not many people set their lives down. Not often do you get the opportunity to set your life down, like kind of for your country. And like, it's different. And, you know, I was in the military. I am a veteran. It's different than being a veteran where you're signed up. They send you to go.
Pay you.
They pay you too, but like you don't have a say in it. You get orders literally to do X, Y, or Z. This is like, as a citizen, a civilian, saying, you know what? I'm going to set my life down and I'm going to prioritize my nation over everything right now. And it was scary just because of that, just because it's like, we're going to spend a bunch of money and we're going to go do this. And we don't really know we don't know, but we didn't know. The gravity of the situation was huge. You're talking about if a United States of America's election was possibly rigged or stolen, that is like, I'm sorry, but if that's not a call for the Patriots, the truth is there should have been more people there than there was.
Well, and there was more than they said.
Absolutely. But like, I'm sorry, but, and I'm not bitter, but I'm like, I'm also not, I'm going to call it how I see it. And like, there should have been more people there.
It's like the least we can do almost.
It's again, it comes back to what we talked about the other day, like duty. Like, it's not optional. And that's just how I felt like it was for me. I was like, I can't not go. Like, we have to go. And, you know, it was very much from a place of like, I cannot emphasize this enough. I went to go peacefully do everything I could do in my power peacefully, because the crimes that were committed were so egregious. I had to do everything I could do peacefully, so that, God forbid, we ended up in a shooting war over the future of this nation.
Not that day, but in general.
In general, that I could look my kids in the eye or my grandkids in the eye and say, I did everything in peace
to try to not
to try to avoid a violent circumstance where we wrestled for the future of our nation in a bloody battle, you know? And so, I mean, it was, and I mean that, like, that's not just some hyperbole. It was like, if my kids die someday in the struggle for this nation, and I didn't do everything I could
to prevent
peacefully to prevent that from becoming the state of things, I'd never forgive myself. And it was like I had no choice.
That is good to say. The reason we went, and I would say this is a shared sentiment, not just from our experience speaking to other people, but also the fact that no one brought weapons to this air quote insurrection, right? Was to protest, was to make our voices heard, was to hold our elected officials accountable in the way that they would have to look us in the eye. They would have to feel the pressure of hopefully hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people outside that building, knowing if you're gonna do a dirty deed in there, you have to know that we're out here and we know you're doing it. And the other one was to pray. Those were the two reasons that I went: to hold my elected officials accountable and to pray over my nation and intervene, because that matters. Like, that matters.
Yeah.
And the amount of people that is why they were there. There was not one other person there that I spoke to, which was so many people from so many states, from different countries, different ethnicities, nationalities.
Well, and to add a little bit of a caveat to your reasoning of like, if they were going to do us dirty, they were going to have to look us in the eye. The other side of that coin was, you know, and I talk a lot about this even today in like local politics and state politics, of like, there were also a bunch of people that I was going to say, if they were going to stand up for the Constitution and stand up for Americans, I was going to be there to show them we're with you.
Yeah.
You're taking a very bold and courageous stand,
which
and you are not alone in that. It was both sides. It was like, if you're going to be a traitor, you're going to see a sea of Americans who know you're a traitor. And if you're going to be a courageous American, you're going to know that you are
gonna be
not
cheered on.
standing alone.
Yeah.
We are with you.
Which there was quite a few supposed champions that were ready to make their stand in there. So we had all the reason to hope that there would be some brave patriots inside that building that were going to do the right thing. And we definitely wanted to make sure we were there to cheer them on. So those were the reasons we went to begin with. So hit the road, seeing all the people from all the different states, feeling so encouraged by that, just so excited.
We met up with our friends in DC, had a great dinner and hang out. Do you remember the night before?
Trying to remember, frankly, the night before.
Yeah, we went out to dinner at a place like...
That's right.
It was kind of like a food courtish kind of place or something.
Kind of felt...
I can't remember, but it was good. And, we kind of talked about the events. And of course, there was all this talk about be careful because there'll be Antifa there. And we heard a little bit of this or that, but it was really
what to avoid.
It was really fine. It was pretty chill. There was a lot of people milling around. Definitely a lot of people were in town.
A lot of patriots, a lot of red, white, and blue shirts, America,
a ton of...
From all over the country.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of people just I remember people just hanging out. Because the hotel we stayed in was in an older building. It was not some new fancy place.
Yeah. That elevator was sketch.
Yeah, but it was very it was perfect. It was a nice hotel. It wasn't crummy or anything.
But the elevator literally fit two
But people were hanging
out
out front on the stoop, you know what I mean? Just smoking and joking and, sharing stories of how they got there and all that. It was definitely patriots everywhere you went.
Very cool.
And we went to bed. We woke up. We had to get up pretty dang early.
That was part of the plan, is knowing there was all these different nonprofits and political groups that were putting on events throughout, all around the White House and around the Capitol and whatever. We knew obviously at that point that Trump was planning to speak at the Ellipsis, at noon, I think.
I think it was noon.
Yeah. Which, man, looking back, what a wild ride. We could dissect that whole day. That's the hard part for me now, is to put myself back into the place I was at before I know what I know now. Do you know what I mean? To strip away all the crap that came after and to go, we literally were there we were having a great time, felt inspired and encouraged and
there was so much cool stuff. So we were away, there were so many people, you guys, we just had to find
at the
event. So we
DC
walked
that day?
down, we came.
Well, we woke up before dark. We woke
before
up
dawn.
Woke up before dark.
Woke up before dark.
Before even dark. That's how early it was.
But we walked out.
And it was no degrees out.
It was very cold.
So cold.
But we were at the top of the Ellipsis.
I was wearing these jeans.
Right on the Capitol Mall. Were you really?
I was wearing these jeans.
I can't say the same for my own. We were right below the Washington Monument. So if you're at the Washington Monument, if you look I don't honestly know the compass direction. DC kind of turns me around, but you look
between that,
you look
and
one
the
way
White House.
And you see the U.S. Capitol building, and you look 90 degrees the other way and you see the White House.
Yeah.
The White House. So we were kind of right at the base where you could kind of look one way and see the Capitol, although from where we were exactly, you had to kind of back up towards the monument to see it, and you could look forward and you were looking across the Ellipsis at the White House, and a whole bunch of the stage stuff was out there. But I'm talking it was a quarter mile away,
from the Capitol.
No, from us. It was way
You're talking
out
about
there.
the stage or the White House, because the White House was quite a ways behind the stage.
That's what I'm saying. But the stage was a quarter mile.
Yeah, no, and there was
probably another quarter mile.
It's so hard to even estimate crowds, but they said thousands of people were there. There was over 1 million people there. It was.
I'm not good at estimating crowds either.
So
but it was
many people. It was so many people. Yeah. So we posted out there, early, because I don't even know why we got there that early. Do you remember?
I think we were just trying to get a spot because we knew there were so many people there.
There were so many people there, but there was also going to be people speaking before Trump.
But the funny thing is we got there early, and the closest spot we got was so far away, and we were walked there in the dark, And I remember, they had so many porta potties lined up, but like
Wasn't
the
enough.
line was
Wasn't enough.
literally like
Luckily, you didn't drink any water that day, so you really didn't have to pee
well,
that
we ended
much.
up walking all the way to, and again, through a sea of people the whole way through the World War II memorial, over all like almost kind of to the Lincoln Memorial, towards the Martin Luther
Like
King
to pee.
Memorial, to go to the bathroom. And there the line was only like 100 people long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But maybe
No
more,
toilet
honestly.
paper.
But
Don't wish to hope for that.
don't wish to hope
Don't
for it.
wish to hope for that.
But we were also like, we had backpacks. We were pretty well.
I survived off beef jerky that day.
Right.
And I mean, the things I remember about that day, like generally human nature, were how freaking cold I was all day. Just a bone chilling cold, and recognizing that was not in any way thwarting me being there. You know, like I was so cold and so uncomfortable. My feet were numb, and I was just like, let's go. And the same with everybody around us was like, well, and you don't sit down. There's nowhere to sit. You're just standing. You're just standing and standing, and you're cold, and you're standing and standing and standing and standing.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to sit. That was also before Trump came up and spoke. Rudy Giuliani spoke. I feel like there was a couple of others that spoke. Like I think Don Jr. spoke, but I remember Rudy Giuliani speaking because he was Trump's lawyer at the time, or one of them, and he said that on January 5th, the night before, the Senate races in Georgia were also stolen. Like, and he said there, that was when we found out that those races had, not only gone to those two Democratic senators, which means we lost the Senate, the House, and the presidency in the 2020 election, which all was crazy. But he said from stage, this was so wild to me now, even now, he was like, we caught them doing it. We knew they were going to do it because, of course, that was in January after the 2020 election in November. And so he's like, we recorded it digitally on the inside, blah, blah, blah. Never heard anything about that after the fact. But the crowd was just riled up, and it makes me go, what was that about?
Well, it's funny, though, because Giuliani was fined $140 million and all this stuff. Mm-hmm. And now he's vindicated. Like, I don't know what's going to happen to him or who's going to be adjudicating that. But, like, all that needs to be reversed. Now that we found out that the Georgia election was stolen.
It was.
So
everybody know that, right? Everybody on the same page?
I hope that he'll be coming for his $140 million and then some.
Goodness gracious.
But yeah, remember, I will say there were some really interesting things, very interesting people. There was a lot of, what would you call it? like Chinese or whatever, Chinese folks who had escaped communism that were very
ready to roll
anti
communism,
mm-hmm.
AKA
and
Biden.
Were very, very concerned that, they've seen fixed elections in their country. They were convinced that's exactly what this looked like.
That's why they're here.
They had lived through it. I thought that was interesting. Anytime you see someone's perspective who's like, oh no, I've seen a country go from free to not free, and they felt so strongly that they also came,
and they were there in a huge group with
I saw multiple groups of the Chinese Americans, whatever. And then we did one thing that was really interesting. We saw a younger guy when we had gone to the bathroom once. We walked around the backside of the Capitol. I'm sorry, not the Capitol, Washington Monument. And as we were coming back around kind of to our spot, we passed a guy. I think we passed him more than once now I think of it. And he was on a little bullhorn, and he was saying, as soon as the president is done speaking, we are going in the Capitol.
We are marching to the Capitol. We are going in the building.
In the building. And at the time, I'm not even joking.
He literally said, that's Antifa, which at the time, that's what we suspected.
We dismissed it, but also laughed at it. It was just that was not...
he was just a guy by himself, young guy.
Yeah.
Wasn't with a group, just literally repeating that over and over again, walking through the crowd. And I mean, lots of people were like, Fed, yelling him out, being like, don't listen to him. That's garbage.
Yep.
that was before President Trump even spoke. That was kind of the one standout moment of like, oh yeah, there's totally
That was
plans
definitely
here.
a foreshadowing thing that
It literally
looking back.
makes a physical response in my body when I think about those sorts of things, where I'm like, oh my gosh.
We should have just tackled him. I said, who do you work for? Nancy Pelosi?
You just can't even know what you know now.
But let's speed up and get to the good part.
We also saw Roman. I remember that was a highlight. Roman from the Epic Times, which
Yep.
was a huge thing that
He
I
was
was
all
into
over
at
the
the
place
time.
that day. We saw him a bunch.
I like spoke to him a little bit. I feel like he interviewed us briefly. I mean, I don't think
He
that
might have
went
interviewed
anywhere.
you. I can't remember.
Yeah, but
think he
I was like,
hitting on you.
Roman. It was a celebrity sighting because they were carrying all the information about the 2020 election. One of the only news outlets that was continually posting
Epic
about
Times.
it, sharing about it, which I've kind of lost track of following them, but I should go back because that was worthy of my loyalty when you were doing that against the mainstream, so to speak. Well, Trump was supposed to speak at noon. He didn't come out to what, like 1:30. It was so far after he was supposed to speak that, and again, knowing what I know now and looking back, it is impossible. If you were there to see Trump, this is like, again, things that you can't know for sure unless you were there. And for us, it's like so clear. And that's what I'm so grateful for. Like, was that one of the best days of my life? Absolutely. Was it one of the worst days of my life? Absolutely. And it's like, I am so glad I went because I will always be able to tell my kids and my grandkids what happened that day because I was there for myself and I know, and nobody can tell me otherwise. Like, I know what happened. And that was one of the big things is if you watched President Trump speak, you could not possibly have been also simultaneously breaking into the Capitol. The people that were breaking into the Capitol were not watching Trump speak because they happened at the same time. And it almost is like, I don't know if Trump knew that or if God's providence was on it, but Trump was incredibly late to speak. And it was a lot of people's alibi, frankly. I will also say, as far as our family goes, if I had not also gone, I think you would have been a J6 prisoner. Not because you broke a law or did anything that you shouldn't have done, but because none of those guys broke laws or did things that they shouldn't have done, frankly. And they literally went for primarily guys or people that had nobody that could vouch for where they were or what they did, or you know what I mean? Like the fact that you were with A, your wife, and B, a grandma and some kids. I mean, you're already on the list, Tom. You're on the list.
We're definitely in a good group. But yeah, so I don't remember any of the speakers, to be honest with you, really.
I remember Rudy Giuliani and that being significant, and then Trump.
Mostly like talking to the people around us.
Eric spoke.
I'm just a people person. I was like, I'm always fascinated by like
Why are
who
you
else
here?
is here, what
Where'd
are their
you come
stories.
from?
Yeah, I want to know that stuff about people. And
Everywhere we went, worship music was playing. People were praying in the crowds constantly all day, but lots of worship music being played over loudspeakers, boom boxes, like on what are those Bluetooth speakers, etc.
But we did, Trump finished speaking. We're marching to the Capitol, and I mean it's a long way.
Marching, we like walked as a crowd.
Well, whatever. Yeah, we goose stepped to the Capitol.
I don't know what that means, but
it's how Nazis.
I would
how
say
Nazis march. Okay,
I meandered is what I would say.
We walked towards the Capitol
like normal people,
and I mean, it was just a sea of people. It was you kind of just like went with the flow kind of thing. And it was down the Capitol Mall for the most part.
Until we got to the mall. Then the crowd kind of dispersed.
That we diverted onto the Capitol Mall, and they took that road
like the sides
Constitution Boulevard or something, I forget, that runs right into the side of the Capitol. And we went over onto the mall. And the Capitol Mall is this long like green strip that runs basically from the Lincoln Memorial
or the Washington
Memorial. A couple miles.
The Washington Memorial.
No, the Lincoln Memorial is at the very end of the Capitol Mall.
Okay.
And then you have the reflection pool.
Yeah.
Then you have the Washington Monument.
Okay.
Well, you have the reflection pool, the World War II monument, then a big grassy area, the Washington Monument, then a mile of grassy area to the U.S. Capitol. And
so when we got to the grassy area to the U.S. Capitol, we stopped.
And we still had to be like a third of a mile from the building.
But we could see it very clearly at that point.
Yes, and we could see people kind of like, we could see a crowd. I mean, a distant crowd, right, from that far away.
Yeah.
And that was when we like sang a particular worship song with a stranger.
Bunch of people.
Or strangers. And then I would say it was shortly thereafter that I heard my first like
bang sound.
Flashbang, or it wasn't a flashbang. It was a tear gas grenade. And I didn't know what it was.
Is this? Like 2:30.
Something like that, yeah. And now we kept on going, and
slowly, like we stopped and talked. We took pictures. We had
very social and
very
chill.
Social.
It was like a festival atmosphere. To be honest with you,
people had different flags, and like we stopped and prayed. We would stop and do whatever. Yeah, it was so weird.
Yeah, just catching up,
teenagers,
meeting
moms.
with people, and we were taking pictures with groups and different. I mean, it was just very.
I like your sign.
Lax.
Can I take a picture of your sign?
Yeah, there was a lot of that. And yeah, I mean, I remember on the Capitol Mall, like
we were making
somebody broke out in song, and we just like stopped and sang this whole worship song together before we kept going. It was just very,
nice to see you. Bye.
Very cool. And as we got closer, it definitely was getting rowdier, and we could start to see that they had built the scaffolding for the
side we were on.
Yes,
the Capitol's huge
for the
inauguration,
and we started to see like there were some people like climbing and hanging off of it, and I mean, so we just kind of slowly.
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that probably, but like, no cops.
No. Oh, I could see a couple of them up on top of the thing, cops. But then we started seeing some people like they were like kind of climbing up the
steps.
Not the steps, but like the railing, the big wide concrete railing of the steps. They were kind of going up that. There were not that many cops up top. And I will say there was like we probably heard, I don't know, 3 or 4
flashbang grenade thingies.
Not smoke grenades, but tear gas or whatever grenades. But like it was very intermittent.
It didn't feel rioty by any stretch of the imagination.
No, but when we got closer, we went on the other side of the little pool there that's whoever's pool that is in front of the Capitol. And somewhere in that area, this is what I think is important to note too. Later on, I realized that somewhere around that pool that's in front of the Capitol steps was where the barriers were at one point that all got torn down or removed. No sign of them
by the time
But there was no sign of them by the time we got there at all.
I remember my sister asking me that. Did you climb over the barriers? I was like, I didn't see a single barrier. There was not one gate. There wasn't a push down gate. There wasn't a pile of gates.
When we saw some of the videos of like when they were first overrun or whatever, there was metal barrier stuff there. Like the typical like parade metal fence barrier stuff.
Not actual, like it's nothing, more of a
you can pick it up and walk away with it, like
don't go past here, but like really you could.
And I was like, man, those were nowhere in sight when we got there.
Nowhere.
So it does make me wonder, how many people
took them
even knew, like if we weren't supposed to cross that line. Well, there was no line when we got there at all, and there was no people, thousands of people.
Well, I say there was people. There was no police. There was no Capitol Police. There was no, nobody in uniform.
Well, there was definitely at that point thousands of people there on the steps of the Capitol that we were kind of just coming into the back of the crowd.
If we are approaching this point so long after the fact that barriers are completely missing entirely, I mean, let's say that's, being called a riot. Where are the police that are trying to dissipate a crowd, that are trying to, dissuade, is that a word?
It depends on what you're going to say next.
A crowd?
Disperse a crowd?
Well, like dissuade them from going farther than that.
Debating the crowd, trying to
not
dissuade them. No, that's good.
You know what I mean? Like there was no presence of police. Like you said, there was a few that we could see, but they were just standing there. They weren't yelling. They weren't saying, get out of here. There was no crowd mitigation ever from what we could see at all.
But I will say there were people like hanging on the scaffold.
Yeah, which of course, you're not supposed to do that.
I mean, I kind of wanted to do it, but I was like, I'm going to behave
But what was so cool was like somebody climbed up that scaffolding and unraveled this enormous American flag down the scaffolding, and the crowd goes wild. The crowd breaks out into God Bless America.
Oh,
the national anthem.
We sang the national anthem
a
there.
cappella as a ginormous crowd.
That was one of the coolest moments
ever.
of my life. In all seriousness, it was absolutely insane. And we were like up on, I don't know what level, because it's kind of like tiers, to get up to the Capitol. And, we were just, okay, that's close enough, far enough, whatever you want to say. And
at that point, there was, it was kind of elbow to or shoulder to shoulder crowd. It was much more tight at that point. And I remember hearing, somebody was shot. There's people inside the Capitol. And from where we were, there was no indication that there were people inside the Capitol. There was no broken anything that we could see.
Well, we were almost like too close to the base of it to see
that,
the top,
but also
levels of the veranda.
I think all that was happening on the other side, like the whole entire other side of the building.
I honestly don't know. I'm pretty sure like the Colton Maccabee stuff, like all that happened right in front of us, just earlier before we got there.
Oh.
Yeah. No, it was right there.
Well, yeah, we couldn't see any of that. I'm
pretty sure.
There wasn't any when you're in a mosh pit and you're being there wasn't it didn't feel, it was just like we're all tight here and we're all standing here. Like we're singing, we're talking to each other. It wasn't like.
Well, it was loud. People were screaming. It was definitely not
but
quiet.
I don't mean to say I didn't feel like we're in danger here or this is bad.
No, I definitely and granted, they weren't firing tear gas into our part of the crowd or anything, but if I thought that there were tear gas rounds flying around, I would have left. I would have not put my wife in that situation.
We had teenagers with us.
But
I do remember hearing at that point that the crowd was whispering, or not whispering, but it was kind of making its way through the crowd that people are inside, man. Someone got shot. And I immediately dismissed it.
I didn't believe it either. I was like, there's no way.
Again, feds or, that's not true.
Well, here's the thing.
If that was happening, if somebody was shot, the police would be trying to remove this crowd, and they're standing there. They're not trying to do anything.
The way I looked at, I was very dismissive of it because I'm having a background in the military, knowing how much security there is for the average military base.
Average day in DC.
This is the average day in DC. There would be extreme security. And this is, if you're not familiar with, the continuity of government, right? The government is super careful about when they have the president and the vice president and the speaker of the house all in one place, because that's continuity of government. If the president is killed, the vice president becomes president, right? And so it's actually a really big deal that they keep track of this. They don't just let these people all into the same room any random time because God forbid there's a plot to blow that room up or something, right? So it's a big deal. And mind you, this is the
Trump
House.
Had asked people to come to DC.
This is the House and the Senate, the vice president, everybody in one room at the same time.
And they're counting the election.
And it's on the most disputed election in the nation's history. And yes, they knew for sure that there would be a large amount of people there. And likely that we're going to be pissed off. They knew all this. Mm-hmm. And so for there to be
minimal police
when
presence.
People are telling me we got inside or that people got inside, I was like, there's no way, dude. There's no way. This was my initial reaction. You can't do that. It doesn't work that way. Now
you have to be let in.
It's yeah, exactly.
Oh,
but
you can't see my face if you're listening. But
what's funny is, so I had brought radios, just cheap Baofeng radios, $20 Amazon radios. And I think I had given one.
The signal was weak, let's just say.
Well, and I knew that because I had worked in tourist towns in the fire service where you get enough people in town, your cell phone doesn't work. So I was like, in case we get separated, I wasn't thinking about anything crazy. I was just thinking we go into the bathroom or something, or we need. Yeah. So I'm I had brought enough radios for our group to all have one every pair of people kind of thing. And I had an earpiece on the radio and I was just listening, and to this day I don't know who it was, but I was picking up other people. Now it could have been insurrectionists, so to speak. It could have been feds. It could have been Antifa. It could have been cops. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I'm just on a civilian like direct channel, nothing encrypted or you know what I mean? This is nothing. Who knows? But there was a group of guys that were talking
back and forth.
And again, I cannot conceive of the idea of people being inside at this point. So I was hearing some stuff that I was like, I don't really know what to make of this. But basically they were referring to like in here, and they were saying the cops are taking selfies with us. And I was like, okay, you know what I mean? Didn't really mean a whole lot to me. I had, mind you, the world is watching something different on TV than what we're kind of seeing here. And at one point I heard something about it, like I honestly forget the direction of the corridor, but that the riot police or SWAT is coming from the such and such a corridor. And in my mind, I was just like, if cops are coming, because mind you, we can like see 3 cops, you know what I mean? So I was like, if there are cops coming from some corridor, we're not trying to get in their way. We're not trying to be a problem for them. And that is at the point where I told the people I was with, I was like, hey, I guess there's some cops coming from some direction. Let's
back out.
Let's get out of here. You know what I mean? Because we're not trying to.
It was also right around
them.
that time. I would say about 30 minutes leading up to that, I started to get texts and calls. A lot of, I had been posting on Instagram when it would load. And so people started to call, are you okay? What's going on there? What's going on there? My sister FaceTimed me, and I, again, had super weak signals in and out, but I was like, yeah, we're just singing the national anthem. Like, she's like, I'm seeing that they're like burning down the place on the news. And I'm like, oh no, we're singing the national anthem here. Like, that's not true. Don't believe the news. Like, I had no idea. I literally was like, I have no idea what you're seeing, but like, that's not happening here. And right about the time that you heard that stuff on the radio, our phones all got push notifications. Like a curfew is, from the mayor, the DC mayor, like called a curfew. And it was, I don't know, 4:30 maybe?
Not even. We got back to the hotel closer to that time.
I think the curfew was like 4:30. Like you need to, we're putting a curfew, whatever. So all those things kind of happen at once where people started to call me asking me what was happening. Tom was hearing stuff on the radio, and then we got this push notification. As soon as we got the push notification, we're like, yeah, we're on our way out. That's fine. No big deal. So in go.
Well, I mean, at that point, we started
making our way out,
heading back towards the hotel.
And the crowd was kind of, I feel like, was lessening.
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, we kind of turned our backs on it and went the other direction. But
well, we were hungry. We were starving. We hadn't eaten all day other than some jerky.
Yeah.
And so we're like, well, let's just go grab some food and we'll like go decompress, whatever. Well, as we get kind of into the city part or, like the streets, everything is closed down. Everything is closed down, which was kind of the first indication of like, oh, I guess like that curfew applies to like, not just this area, but like you got to go home to your hotel or whatever. So I remember getting to the hotel and immediately getting in the shower because I was so cold. And I just was like, I want to get in warm water as quickly as possible. Shower off, no big deal. Get out of the shower. And when I remember so vividly, I'll remember it every day of my life, like getting out of the shower, coming into the hotel room, Tom is on his phone, kind of not paying attention. And the TV is on and it's on mute and it is on the news. And I see the Capitol. I basically see what the news is showing is happening at the Capitol. And we had just been there, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, 45 minutes? I don't know. It's hard to tell before that. And my heart sank. And I just was like, oh my gosh, this was a trap. This is a trap. This is, oh my gosh. Like just being like, I don't know how to explain that's not what this is. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what we're doing here. That's not what anybody was doing here. How are we going to try to tell people that's not what was happening? Kind of going through my head. And we got dressed. We went over to our other friend's house or room down the hall, whatever. And we all kind of had a powwow, and they had to fly back to California. So they were bound to a flight. We had driven here, obviously, from Tennessee. So I was just like, we have to leave now. Like we have to get out of this city. I just had it in my head. They're going to lock down the city. They're not going to let us out of here. This is a trap. Like, I just felt such an ominous, sick to my stomach feeling about, again, the elation, the chills, the tear jerking, like, profound moments. Oh, one of the most profound moments of the day we skipped over was when we had decided to leave and we were walking away, and makes me want to cry even thinking about it or talking about it. But as we're walking away, I was just like, we need to pray one more time. And like, our group of however many there were, I don't know, 8 of us.
That's right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
We like circled up and I started praying. And as I prayed, I just felt like, you know, a couple of hands being placed on my back or whatever. It gets me, because when I stopped praying and opened my eyes, there was like dozens of people around us that had like joined in on our prayer. Gets me. And it was just like somebody said, that's what's going to save our country. You know, as we kind of dispersed, it was like, oh, cool. And I'm like, yeah, that's why we're here. That's why any of us are freaking here, is like to do this, to pray, to like make a difference. And then we went on our way. And that was the last thing we did out there. And then we go back to our hotel, and I'm like the highest high to like the most sick, ominous feeling of like, I just want to get home to my kids. Like, I just need to get out of here and get home to my kids. Like the snake is recoiling around this kind of feeling.
Yeah, I definitely felt a similar, like, tactically, I was like, as the curfew was much more serious than we realized.
Yeah.
It was unclear to me if they were going to, like, in all seriousness,
close the roads.
Yeah, in the chaos that was unfolding as like the National Guard is rolling in kind of thing. It was like, are they going to actually like shut the city down and
we won't be able to get
arrest
out?
everybody?
Yeah.
So I was definitely like, we had a little powwow with our group. You know, what are they going to do? I mean, there was a part of me that was like, do we need to get all of you out of the city?
They didn't seem nearly as freaked out as I was.
No, but they also didn't have any other options.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they were going to go to the airport in the morning.
No, she was staying. She stayed 2 more days, or at least 1 more day.
That's right.
And did some sightseeing.
But we were like, no, we have
tonight.
the ability to leave.
We're out of here.
We're going to get out of here and put some distance between us and DC. And so we did that. I think we made it about to where we stayed the first
couple hours out of the city.
Yeah.
We stopped at like 3 a.m. I mean, we like drove.
Yeah, we drove a ways.
Yeah.
But I mean, one thing, like, it was one of the best days of my life. It really was not one of the worst days of my life. It was absolutely thrilling to be a part of our history as a nation. I mean, I'm proud to have been there. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not ashamed of it. There's not been a day that I have felt ashamed of it. There is no reason for us to feel ashamed of it.
There's no shame. For me, it was the reason why it was one of the worst days is, I mean, it opened my eyes to the reality, the experiential reality of what I knew was there, if that makes sense. Like the evil you suspect when you encounter it, not just in the, you know, symbolically in our government in the way that we did that day, but also in the visceral messages of hatred that I got from people I've known my whole life sent to me, you know, through Facebook. Now, I will tell you right now, for every one of those hateful messages, there was a dozen. We are with you. You are representing all of us. Like, just an overwhelming outpouring of support and amazement that we had been there, and that, you know, like, totally positive. And then 1 in a dozen, just awful, awful messages. And those that hurt. It sucks. It's just like, you know, you want to defend yourself. And a lot of these people were, again, people I've known my whole life. And I was like, what are you even like accusing me of? Like, what on earth? That night when we stayed in the hotel somewhere between here and DC, that night, on whatever channel we would have been on, looking at YouTube or something. We were watching uploaded video that very night of police moving barricades and letting people into the Capitol. Like, right away, it was very, like, you could watch that footage. Like, you could see. Of course, that night we're learning about Ashley Babbitt, and we're learning about, you know, different things that happened that we didn't see or didn't know that were happening. Of
People
course, it went
pooping on Nancy Pelosi's desk. I mean,
breaking in and doing stuff in the Capitol floor or in the House, all of that. And I just kept feeling sicker and sicker to my stomach of just, and then the next day, I can't remember if it was that day or the next day, that I started to get threats that, those, myself and the two other women that I'm friends with, we all work in the same business and we're business owners. And all of us were, well, we weren't the only ones there. We were just happened to be in a group. There was other people from our business that were there somewhere in DC. There was calls that we should all, have our businesses confiscated and our incomes eliminated. And I was still the primary income earner of our family at the time. So that felt like, are we for real? Like literally did not break one law. No one is accusing me of breaking a law. But because I'm like somehow now racist, I got called racist a whole lot. That was confusing because I was not sure what any of January 6th had to do with race. But because I'm a racist, I shouldn't be able to make money for my family. I'm not sure. Lots of that. I don't want to say I was afraid, but those things were scary to me. Like how exposed we can be for our beliefs.
And I mean, that was really kind of in a lot of ways the beginning of it, because then it was,
Still here.
I don't remember how long before like the first people started getting arrested, but
right.
Then it just became this kind of like
manhunt.
I mean, it was, and the people we were with got visits from the FBI.
Both of them got visits from the FBI.
We were definitely like
interviewed by the FBI in their homes,
living in a place where it was like,
I was like, that's imminent for us.
At the very least, expecting a visit from the FBI. And at the worst case, we're like, so many of these people are being arrested for things that are very
not
stupid,
crimes,
like not crimes. Yeah. So like, I didn't want to be naive and believe that like we were somehow just immune to it just because we knew what we did and didn't do. But like, that didn't seem to matter to the weaponized DOJ at that point.
And people were arrested literally until Trump was inaugurated in 2024. Like, literally weeks before he was inaugurated, they were still being arrested. So it was, and lots of people, 2 years went by before they were raided by the FBI, not just arrested, raided by the FBI, families standing on the lawn. I mean, when you hear some of the stories, which it fell out of the news cycle, and most of you probably never heard any of these stories from the J6ers, it will make your blood boil. How these people were treated, how they were delayed, and even being given their, like, the actual official accusation of the crime, being held without being accused of a crime, being delayed their trial times by years. I mean, right to a speedy trial, none of it. So unconstitutional. Making up like novel legal theory to pin these people. Again, nobody was even accused of insurrection. Nobody had that accusation on them. Like no indictments for insurrection. And yet we're all somehow insurrectionists.
Well, again, it's one of those classic like
propaganda.
Rules. Can I
go? I'm sorry. I'm on it.
Rules for Radicals states, a book by Saul Alinsky, that the hard left treats as like
the Bible.
The Bible is blame the other side for exactly what you are doing.
Yeah.
Accuse the other side. You accuse your opponent of exactly what you are doing. So they rigged an election and basically committed treason and insurrection themselves. And then they found a way to blame and accuse the other side of
the people holding them
insurrection.
Accountable.
And I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it on record again. Most importantly, since the Georgia revelation of the vindication of the Stop the Steal movement, where 315,000 Georgia votes
Illegally cast.
were admitted by the state of Georgia just recently in the last month to have been illegally counted. And the state was won by 10,000 allegedly. And that was that was one of the
biggest
things. That was where the spike happened overnight. You know what I mean?
One of the places the spike
one of the
happened
places
overnight.
that was where
Goodness
the
gracious.
State Farm Arena stuff went down with the water leak and shut everybody down, and where the luggage came out and all this crazy stuff. All the stuff we just watched happen that they just gaslighted us. And I mean, I don't know what they thought. We should have burned the Capitol down. Like anything.
It would have been justified.
Anything that occurred that day would have been justified
Because of the crimes that happened inside the building.
If Americans burned their own Capitol to the ground on January 6th, 2021, that would have been justified, because the crimes that were committed against the American people, against the Constitution, there is nothing off the table for the American people to scream bloody murder in defense of their nation, in defense of their Constitution, to bring attention to that crime. And what everyone was so offended by, both on the right and the left, because all the cowards on the right were so offended that they were so offended for being called out as cowards, because when courageous men act, it shines a light on who the cowards are. And they were so offended for being exposed as cowards, and the left was so offended for being exposed as traitors. And frankly, I just cannot say it enough that anything that was done that day would have been justified. And while I'm glad, by the grace of God, that our country did not fully fall apart, and I do believe that God had a plan,
100%.
that Trump is that we had a Biden presidency in between. You know, I see a lot of God's hand in it.
No question.
Don't get me wrong, but make no mistake that when a crime of that nature is committed against the people of the United States, that was nothing. That was a peaceful protest. And going inside the Capitol, defecating on Nancy Pelosi's desk was
Did that really happen?
As far as I know, yeah.
That's hilarious.
That was the gentlest thing. That was us showing restraint.
Well, and frankly, like you say, even without weapons, like, had the crowd wanted to actually take over that Capitol, it would have been not a problem. The amount of people.
Well, fundamentally, the crowd did.
Well,
you know, it's just that.
I honestly don't really feel like.
No, here's the thing. I would go so far as.
We disrupted it.
It carried on in the middle of the night. Their intentions were just to mill around. You know, I mean, and yes, they were let in. They weren't expecting to do that.
If we wanted to occupy that building and prevent that election from being sealed, 100% we could have done it. We did not do that, in fact, because later that night, and this needs to be said, later that night, in the middle of the night, guess what happened? All those people that said, we will honor what the people's wishes are, we're not going to certify this election. Somebody running for Tennessee governor.
Marsha Blackburn, you're a sellout traitor.
Turncoat and freaking certified that election, because how dare the people? That's why I'm like, it was a trap from start to finish. I believe Marsha knew that was going to happen. Don't worry. You can safely say you're going to stand for the people. The people are going to come and poop on Nancy's desk, and then you're going to not have to do it. You're going to certify the election, because how dare they? Again.
Kudos to the dude who pooped on Nancy Pelosi's desk. That's pretty legendary.
I didn't know that happened. I feel like maybe I forgot. I'm not sure. But
I think it was so embarrassing and angering to her that they kind of
flew it under the radar.
Well, they kind of made it that they trashed her office, but I've heard in multiple sources say that somebody actually pooped on her desk.
Well, the next day, as we're driving the rest of the way home, I had a full-on high-level panic attack in the car going home, like hysterical, just like, and it was kind of spurred by one of the teenagers we were with posting on his Instagram with a video, like a picture of him holding the American flag with the Capitol in the background and just proudly proclaiming, despite the world falling apart the next day and all the accusations that were being hurled at the people who came, that he was like, I was there. I will not say I wasn't. And I'm glad I was there and I'd do it again. And it just like broke my heart for this 17-year-old guy that's like just getting started as an adult. And this is the country that we have to hand to him. Like, this is where we're at as you're becoming an adult. And that young man is in the military right now, bless his heart. Like, I do believe that that was a shaping day for him as well.
Oh, I have no doubt. But I'll say this. I'm sure it was a massively impactful day, but he was the American he is today already before that. That's why he was there. Do you know what I mean?
Because his parents raised him to be that, to not be a coward. So that, guess what? When the time comes to go fight for the country, his parents are like, we're in, let's go. And he's like, I'm coming too, because that's who you've raised me to be. And mind you, this is after a year of COVID where he lived in California. He's literally being told you can't wear a USA shirt to school because, you know, it's racist. And he the next day shows up in a tuxedo American flag, like that kid, you know.
God bless him.
Oh, it's so good.
An important note for those who wonder, California gets a bad rap, and they get it for a reason, but there are some of the most rabid, badass American conservatives, patriots,
rabid,
in that state.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of like living in communist China, where you know how bad it is when you live there. Everyone else just hears stories about it. So, you know, for those of you
still in the fight,
California is both sides of the spectrum. They're the worst of the worst, and it holds the best of the best, as far as people go.
Very true.
Both sides are true.
Although we no longer live there, nor does he.
Right.
We all had to bail. We're like, sorry, we can only fight so much. We must flee. But yeah, that's what happened on January 6th, 2021.
And, you know, God was good and put his hedge of protection around us.
I mean, I felt an intense amount of personal relief when Trump was sworn in this last round. And I knew that particular manhunt was done. And we were...
I don't want to steal any of the glory of someone else's pardon, because I was not in prison.
Gosh.
We knew people who were.
But the fact that Trump sat down on that first day and pardoned those J6ers, you get the cred for that, dude.
Oh, 100%. But I felt that as like the piece of my own pardon, because I knew, you know, that little part of me that's like, you know, are they ever going to come for us kind of thing, was put to rest that day. Now, even though I didn't receive one directly because I didn't need one, at the same time, it was like I felt pardoned that day, you know, in a way, just because
we could breathe easy.
It was such a insane time of persecution for
those of us willing to put our neck out.
Yeah, and I mean, some would have you think that the lesson that the system taught people in that is that if you stand up and be courageous, you will be persecuted.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's what the Bible says.
Don't for 1 minute allow yourself to believe that is what the cowards believe. The cowards will say, that's why you stay home. That's why you keep a low profile. That's why you don't, you know what I mean? Don't for 1 minute believe that, because that is the very thought that shackles your children to be slaves to tyranny.
I mean, it is that whole, I'd rather run than die on my knees, or what is it?
I'd rather die running than on my knees.
You know what I'm saying? What is that phrase? Or little slogan?
I'd rather die standing than on my knees.
You know what I'm talking about.
I'd rather run into death.
I'd rather die standing than live on my knees. That's what it is. You don't want to die on your knees. Nobody's dying on their knees.
Oh.
Die standing than live on my knees. It was like that sentiment. But yeah, there's no question that there's a cost. There is a cost. I paid it, but in the end, I look back and I'm grateful for it. There's a pruning that happens. Obviously, I was unfriended by a number of people who were never meant to be in my life past that point. You see who is completely gullible, who's completely willing to fall for it. And this was also significant to me. Of all of the people on the left that at that time I was still friends with, one person reached out to me and asked me, why are you there? Why did you go? Because obviously she was very mad at me. And at the time I was defensive and annoyed that she reached out to me because I had been so blindsided by so many people. But looking back, I actually went back and thanked her and was like, thank you for reaching out to me and asking me that question, because you're the only one that did. And I'm happy to give you my answer of why I'm there. And I'm sure it would surprise you, because it's not what the news is telling you as to why we were all there or what the reason we were there for. And she was also a Christian. So I was like, I was there to pray because I feel like that makes a difference. And I know you know it does. That's why I was there. And she was like, okay, I believe you. Like, that's fine. Cool. And I could say, I don't know if that's why every single person was there, but every person I talked to that day, that's why they were there. So
I basically had almost no leftist friends left.
That's
so
true.
I got
already
almost
pruned.
no hate messages.
You had already pruned so
That's
much.
how I knew I was
right in the sweet spot. That's how you knew you were already on the list of being arrested. Like the short list of, if we can snag Tom Cunningham. Dang it. He was there with his wife and some teenagers and an old lady. Dang it.
I think I behaved myself just fine.
Of course, we all did. Okay. Half of the people that spent their years in jail behaved themselves just fine, including what's her butt that was like a big deal in the COVID battle that walked in and did a speech. What was her name? Dr. Simone Gold, is that her name?
Maybe.
Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
She spent time in prison. That grandma spent time in prison. Freaking so much.
Bunch of grandmas.
Then we had to deal with the whole J6 committee and all that joke and garbage. And like literally years later, I would have clients text me and call me an insurrectionist years after the fact. I remember being at a Christmas parade in like 2023 and getting a text message like, just so you know, I'd never work with you. You're an insurrectionist. I was like, wow, it's still going. This is great. But all right, thanks for telling me.
I definitely
Merry
got like a
Christmas.
little bit of a
We definitely became heroes around here, that's for sure.
Well, it's just there's an element of like people who I don't know. There's people that I just don't care as much about. No. Like if you haven't stuck your neck out, you haven't done anything, and like I just want to encourage people. I don't want to just be like naggy and rude, but like. Another moment will come.
It's worth it.
And I hope that you answer whatever call is put on you. And, you know, I posted something on 9/11 when we walked for Charlie Kirk and 9/11. And it's like the through line that I saw between the 9/11, you know, the firemen who gave their lives on 9/11 and Charlie Kirk is that, you know, they both answered the call. Like, Charlie knew every time he got up on those stages that some wacko could try to do something crazy. Mm-hmm. And those firemen, like I've listened to the audio, those guys, as they climbed 70 stories into those buildings, they knew that this might be the call.
Yeah.
The last call.
They knew it probably would be.
And it did not keep them from answering the call fearlessly. And that is what Charlie and those firemen did. And it might be costly to answer that call, but are we teaching our children to be men and women that answer the call courageously? Is that the example we're setting? And so that's just what I would leave you with is be someone who answers the call for your family, for your nation, for your God.
Mm-hmm. Happy January 6th.
Happy J6ers.
5 years later. Have a good night. Thanks for joining us on the Modern Watchman podcast.
Remember, truth isn't just something we believe, it's something we live out every day.
Stay alert, stay discerning, and don't lose sight of the hope we have in Christ.
Until next time,
Be watchmen.